Hello everybody. So today's video is going to be a little different because today I want to talk about why it's so important for modern 21st century businesses to be loved by their customers. Customers need to love your business and your products simply because today there is no alternative to that setup. In a nutshell, we live a digital life. We all, go around with our day with internet in our pockets and remote shipping as a possibility. And this has entirely reshaped how we shop and has essentially destroyed rent-seeking type of businesses, which were the businesses characterizing the 20th century. 20th century was all about rent-seeking. Today, these businesses are not possible anymore because when a customer feels like they're being rent-seeked, i.e. ripped off, what do? They get the phone out of their pocket, they look online, and they order online. How many of us have done that, right? Plenty. I do it all the time for all sorts of products. Sometimes I go to a physical store, I say, this is a ridiculous price. I look online, and I order it on Amazon, and it's much cheaper, and it arrives within 5 hours sometimes, right? Same day shipping, sometimes as fast as 2 hours. So the old way of doing business had a rent-seeking assumption built into it. So an example of that would be, for example, any retail location. The customer must pay for the product, whatever price they see is what they must pay, because I am the only distributor in town. There's nobody else in town selling that product, so the customer needs to make that transaction right here, right now, at that price. Except that's not possible today, because today, if a customer does not like a price, the customer can do a quick online search and get the best price, likely on Amazon, but perhaps on some of their website, and Amazon gives you a 2-hour shipping on many items these days if you live in a big city. So that assumption of rent seeking for retail is dead. And another example is for auto buying, for buying an auto, right? So in the past, you have to pay for whatever the dealer asks for, and you have to pay for market adjustments most often that dealers will add on to the cars. Why? Because by law, only the dealership in your area is allowed to sell your car, right? And even if you go online, you can see that buying a traditional car online just refers you to your local dealership because you have no choice but to go through your local dealership. Again, today, that's finished with, for example, how Tesla sells cars. How Tesla sells cars is you order a car online, and then you get it, a few weeks later at your local delivery center. And there is no pressure, etc. So that's the auto buying business. The monopoly of a dealership on one area is dead because the new area of the sales area, right, is online. And so now people can just buy online and have transparent pricing. This is how we do business these days. And let me move on here just to tell you that rent-seeking companies are dying. They're going away. The companies that rent-seek are going away. Pleasing your customers, in my view, for a business is the only way forward, because it's not going to be possible to just keep rent-seeking, because online shopping is going to get better and better. Information is going to get more and more accessible. It's already nearly as accessible as it's going to get, but it's going to get even better with AI and other things. And therefore, all businesses need to follow the way of Amazon, which is the customer-centric company, right? Amazon tries to be the most customer-centric company in the world, the most loved company in the world. And so you can't be an unloved company anymore. If you are an unloved company, you're not going to do well because your customers are going to shut you down. Rent-seeking destroys capital. And I have this example, and you may remember this example from Mylan. So Mylan belongs to Pfizer, by the way, which is why I have the Pfizer stock price right here. So if you look at Mylan, you may have heard of this. That's the whole idea of the EpiPen, the epinephrine auto-injector EpiPen, right? Where the prices in 2016 moved from $100 to $600. And the market widely agreed that this is outrageous, brutal, morally bankrupt, corrupt, and even cruel. And actually, this professor of economics described these actions from the EpiPen company, right, Mylan, as savage. Because this is a company that literally 6x'd the price of a product where if you don't have it, it's going to be a life-threatening situation for you. So This company literally went as far as ruining the life of its customers just to make money, which is very scary and very shocking. But that is rent seeking from you. That's the whole idea that you're in an amusement park, you're gonna sell $7 or $8 for a bottle of water on a very, very, very sunny day where people are fainting all around you, right? It's 120 degrees. People are fainting. You're going to ask $7 for a bottle of water. That's the same idea. That's not being customer centric. That's being rent seeking. And all the irony when you look at the stock price of Pfizer, which owns Mylan, and if you look at the stock price for, I didn't put it exact, but I tried to round it up to 25 years. If you look over 25 years, with that dividend, which remember, it's going to be lower than that because you pay taxes on your dividends, so it's going to be 3.14% per year over 25 years. So essentially no return. I mean, look at this, 1.85 out of dividend. So you put $10,000 25 years ago, you put $10,000 and you get $15,800 right now. And keep in mind, this is a stock that's only up because 2020 and 2021 has greatly benefited rent seeking. That's the only reason why this stock is up. The stock would be flat in nominal terms, in dollar terms, which means that this is a stock that has destroyed 60 to 70% of the value because of capital, right? $1 in 1998 was much stronger than $1 today, and therefore you've destroyed tremendous value. On this channel, beat the denominator, I estimate that money is losing 15% of its buying power each year. Each year, 15% of buying power lost, which means that any return that you have that is not 15% is money that you're losing. That's because rent seeking is dead. This is a company that has operated mostly in the 20th century, and they've made no returns. And how many companies in the S&P 500 are like that? Rely on rent seeking, rely on shareholders asking for profits now, not putting the customer forwards, right? Not thinking about the customers. Rent seeking ensures that your customer never comes back. When a customer gets ripped off, the customer doesn't come back. The other day I went to the local grocery store, bought some chips from Pepsi. I got ripped off. I was sold $14 worth of air. And I'm not gonna buy that product anymore. It's a minor detail, but I'm not gonna buy that product because of shrinkflation. Customers notice shrinkflation. They notice the quantities going away. They notice those prices, right? Making sure also, rent seeking also makes sure that your customer is going to lobby against you, like is the case in healthcare. If you look at the announcement a few days ago against some healthcare drugs, that's because customers have lobbied against these companies that are not aligned. I am firm on the idea that satisfying the customer is the only way today to build a long-term business, because the customer is going to know when they're being rent-seeked, and they're going to try to go to the business that does not rent-seek them. The way to run a 21st century, in my view, is to under-promise and over-deliver. Under-promise, over-deliver. And the company should delight. You should be happy to come back for more. That's the whole idea of a good company. And if you have any doubt of this, I have two quotes of mine about this whole tension between making a lot of money now and building a company for the future. This is a tension in business that's so important. Exploitation versus exploration. Businesses, in my view, should always think long-term, very, very long-term. And my explanation of this is simple. Does your company want to have the best year of their life? You want to make the most money ever one year. What do? Well, go ahead. Rip off every single one of your customers, fire everybody, and sell all of your assets. You'll have the best year ever. You'll have the most cash ever, but you also won't have a business left. The same is true at the family level. Let's say you want to have your family, you want to make $1 million a year this year. Go ahead. Sell everything you own. Sell the house, the kids' toy, the furniture, your wife's shoes or purses. Or if she's the one selling, let her sell your toys and your cars or whatever, right? And in a year, you'll have the most cash ever if you do that as a family. But you also probably won't have a family anymore. So sacrificing the long term for the short term is never the way to go. And rent seeking is going away. And this is why today I want to talk about 3 stocks. And there's more than them. Actually, so many of the stocks on my channel are customer-centric. But I just want to talk about 3 stocks that I find particularly customer-centric to illustrate why these customer-centric companies are going to win over 20th century rent-seeking company. So let me get started with SoFi. So SoFi is a customer-centric company. it is a fact that if you still bank with a large bank, one of the big four American banks, Citi, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, it is a fact that you're going to have a 0.01% on your checking and savings account still today, while the fair market rates should be above 4% right now. Why do they get away with giving you only 0.01%? Right? And by the way, when rates dropped, they were the first one to drop those interest rates. Now that rates have been up for well over a year now, they will be the very, 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 very last ones to raise those interest rates. Right? Why? Because they think in terms of rent seeking. They're like, I'm going to rent seek my customer. My customer's not going to pay attention. It's going to take my customers years to pay attention. Right? We're well known. We're a well-known bank. We're at every corner. So we can get away with rent-seeking our customers and just earning the interest on their behalf for our pockets and not giving it back. Except today, there is the tiny problem that it's easier than ever for customers to switch. And it's easier than ever for customers to research the best bank out there. And there's many great fintechs out there. One of the great fintechs that I invest in and that I'm happy to own is SoFi. And if you look at SoFi, SoFi Plus, which is just a nominal fee each year, fairly nominal. But if you pay that nominal fee each year to be a member of SoFi Plus, on your banking balances, you're going to have 4.5% APY versus 0.01%. Right? Same is true for credit cards. If you sign up for a credit card, okay, it only lasts 1 year, but you're still going to have 3% cash back for 1 full year. Right? And they have many, many other benefits that you don't have with a legacy bank that they're able to provide to you, right? And by the way, zoom out for the banks. It's important to zoom out because I can see people in the comment section telling me, well, what you're saying is not true. JP Morgan has more deposits than ever. Well, they have more deposits than ever right now because there's a knee-jerk reaction to the small regional banking crisis where a lot of companies decide to move their funds to the bigger banks because of that crisis. But this is not the field of consumer banking. The field of consumer banking follows these long-term trends where customers are tired of being nickel and dimed and are switching in droves to the companies of the future that are customer-centric, that are not going to nickel and dime you as a company. Let me move on with SoFi, another example. Cryptocurrencies. Legacy finance has been critical of cryptocurrencies for at least 5 years, since they've had to weigh in, right? Back in 2018 is when they started to weigh in. They've called them all sorts of names, all sorts of ripoff, right? JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, I don't care about Bitcoin. I don't care about Bitcoin. If you ask me another question about Bitcoin, I'm going to leave at a conference. He was saying this. Very dismissive. Should a customer-centric bank be dismissive of what their customers want? It's not the role of the company to judge whether your customers want a product or not. Customers, Gen Z have spoken. Gen Z love crypto. They want crypto, right? Can you trade crypto on Chase or at Bank of America or Wells Fargo? Can you trade crypto there? No, you can't. But of course, SoFi, a company like SoFi and other fintechs akin to SoFi, have had crypto for the longest time. So this is yet another example. Don't call your customer stupid, telling them you don't deserve access to this asset. Give them the asset that they want. And Gen Z overwhelmingly loves crypto and wants crypto. SoFi is catering to their customer. This is a customer-centric behavior. Lastly, I think I had another one. Let me see a second. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to say about SoFi, but I must have deleted my slide by mistake, was the ATMs, right? The ATMs and the cash management. If you look at a company like SoFi, right, they don't have any branches. But did you know that with SoFi, you have access to your money much more than all of the big four combined because they have a partnership with Allpoint ATM. So you can withdraw your money with SoFi at 55,000 ATMs. And they also have a partnership with pharmacies to deposit their cash. So you have pharmacies, Walmarts, 7-Elevens, convenience stores where you can deposit their cash. So SoFi, through innovation, has been able to offer the same benefits of cash management, depositing cash and withdrawing cash, by going through third parties and not building a network of branches. And this is yet another example of how a company is absolutely customer-centric, because one of the big hurdles to moving to a neobank is the idea that you're not going to have your ATM network and you're not going to have your deposit network for cash. And they've solved that through doing a partnership that has a greater reach than any national level bank, in the sense that they have partnered with networks of stores that are throughout the US. So that's the last point that I have for SoFi as to why it's customer centric. And sorry about that, I deleted that slide by mistake, which is too bad. But anyways, that's okay. Let me move on now to HIMS. So moving on to HIMS. Why is HIMS a customer centric company? Well, let me tell you. HIMS is a customer-centric company because it views health insurance as an impediment to getting care for minor health issues, which it is. HIMS solves that impediment by charging you less. And they charge you less through two keywords here, which is transparent pricing and provider messaging. So when you go on their website, right, one of the quick key questions is like, does HIMS require insurance, or do you need insurance for HIMS? No, you don't need insurance for HIMS. We offer transparent pricing on treatments and your medical visit, ongoing shipments of your drugs if you're prescribed, and provider messaging included, all bundled in one price. That's how HIMS goes. Why is this customer-centric? Why is this better than the 20th century way of doing things with health insurance? So let's talk about the traditional way, which emerged in the 20th century, which is not nearly as good. And let's imagine a typical scenario for HIMS users, and I'm going to use ED as an example here, because that's how HIMS got started with ED. But keep in mind that they do much more than ED now. HIMS should not be discounted as an ED company. They are doing this for so many different ailments today, not just ED. So the traditional way for, say, a man in his early 30s who may need an ED drug. So how do you have to do it? And you have insurance for your jobs, let's imagine, because most people get insurance for their job. So let's imagine you have insurance for your job, you're a man, early 30s, you find out you have some ED issues. So what do you need to do in the traditional way? In the traditional process, you need to, A, get a family doctor. Most insurance will not let you see a specialist without going through a family doctor first. So first of all, you have to get a family doctor. There will likely be a copay, and the time will be 1 to 4 months if you live in a larger city. So you have to wait for that. Once you see your family doctor, you have to get a referral to a urologist from your family doctor. That's going to be likely a second copay and likely another wait time, maybe 1 to 4 months again. Then once you see the urologist, you're going to get a prescription. That prescription you gotta drop it at a pharmacy, probably wait a little bit after you dropped it at a pharmacy, and then you have to pick it up and likely pay a copay. So that's another week. And then typically that prescription is gonna be for, 3 months, 6 months, depending how rent-seeking your urologist feels. And the prescription is going to expire. And of course, when the prescription expires, you're gonna have to go back to the urologist to get your prescription extended. That's a way that they have to rent seek and to keep charging you the visit fee, right? And HIMS avoids all of this because A, you have transparent pricing. You know exactly what you're going to pay, right? You don't have to go to the pharmacy with coupons. You don't have to have a surprise in the mail where you thought that the doctor's visit was going to cost X and it ended up costing X plus $18.40, and then you get a bill in the mail for $18.40. And you better not miss that bill, because if you miss that bill, you're going to be sent to collections, which is kind of another thing of healthcare. Pricing is absolutely not transparent in healthcare. HIMS solves that. HIMS solves that entirely. And the provider messaging avoids the fact that you would have to go back for a follow-up. Just to get your prescription extended, you have to go back. You have to go back and back and back, right? So what are people most likely to do? What is this man in his early 30s most likely to do? Well, you know what he's most likely to do? He's most likely going to ignore his minor health issue and not deal with it. And he's most likely going to wait until a health issue is big enough that he has no choice but to go through this process, who is very deterring. You don't want to go through this process. It's a dreaded process that most people don't want to go through for a minor health issue. This is one of the things that HIMSS solves, and most people don't understand this about HIMSS, but it solves this complexity. To me, it's the biggest selling point. And if HIMSS started accepting insurance, I would look at this as a red flag for this stock. Then it would be a stock that would be stuck to grow at the speed of the health insurance system, just like Teladoc is. And so I would look at this as a red flag. What's another thing that HIMSS does that is customer-centric? Well, this is a big deal. This is a big deal in this space. And I'm continuing with the treatment of ED as an example, but please know that they have similar approaches to, say, hair loss gummies. They have hair loss gummies. They have hair loss spray. They have a similar approach to always avoiding stigma and making the customer feel bad. HIMSS is on a mission to not make the customers ever feel bad so that they actually adhere to the treatment and actually take their treatment. And the question here, I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Imagine you're a man with ED. What are you gonna choose? Are you gonna choose this prescription drug, which has a lot of stigma attached to it, right? It's a blue pill. We've all heard of that. It has stigma attached to it. Or are you gonna go for this? A funny box, wintergreen, hard mints, entirely harmless, fits in your pocket, does not feel like a drug, does not use the drugs of the codes of drugs, does not write proudly the name of a pharmaceutical. What are you more likely to use? And I can tell you, most people are more likely to use a product that is customer-centric. This is a product that was developed with customer centricity in mind. This is not. And this is why more people are likely to take this product than this product. And this is where I think HIMSS is again a winning combination of making the customer feel good about their treatment, making that treatment accessible, that's customer-centric, feel good about the treatment, that's customer-centric. And one last thing that I have to say about HIMSS is very important in my view, which is privacy. Privacy, and this is a topic that I haven't explored too much in my video about HIMSS, but privacy is actually of the utmost importance in healthcare. I know we have gotten accustomed in 2020 and 2021 to discuss our health statuses out loud. But this is not the way it's supposed to be. The way it's supposed to be is that your health status is not to be something that is discussed out loud. It's supposed to be private. There's supposed to be great privacy around that. And in fact, we have examples, and again, I'm picking this because I want to stick with the theme of ED when talking about HIMSS. Like, this is a very, very common thing, actually, much more common than we think. Man sues CVS after wife discovers secret Viagra prescription, right? Michael Feinberg, bought a Viagra prescription at CVS store and told the employees he didn't want the prescription to be put to the insurance. And he's saying it has ruined his marriage because they put the prescription to the insurance, and now his wife found out. It doesn't matter. Like, one could say, oh, maybe you should talk about this to your wife. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's not for anybody to judge why healthcare and why prescription drugs should be private. It is just the fact that they should be private, and it is a basic human right that they should be private. And that's first principles thinking right there. And when you use insurance broadcasts about what treatments you purchase, I don't know, to your household, for your household, it's easily accessible. And insurance employees can have access to this. Right? Whoever opens your mail can have access to this. So there's a lot of issues with using insurance and right there privacy. That's one of the smaller issues. Another bigger issues, and this is an issue that I have with regular pharmacies in a physical setting, is that you may know this if you live in the US, but they're less common in Europe, drive-through pharmacies. At least in France, I don't remember ever seeing those in France. Maybe it's different for the rest of Europe. But in the USA, how does it work usually picking up a prescription? So typically, you will go for a drive-through pharmacy, and you'll be yelling out of the car window, just like you would order a burger. I want a quarter pounder with cheese. No, you would say, oh, I'm here to pick up my prescription XYZ. And you would do that as a drive-through pharmacy. That is not the way. This is not a privacy-saving way to do this, right? The better way to do this is digital. When you do it digitally, your prescription is going to have greater privacy, it's going to be private, and it's going to be customer-centric. So this is another reason why I think HIMS is a highly customer-centric company, and it is set to win in this marketplace because of its customer centricity. All right, let me now move on to the third stock that I find particularly customer-centric in ways that are not often discussed for Tesla, right? Tesla, a lot of the Tesla YouTubers discuss the technology, the best tech, the best entrepreneur, the best CEO. They discuss all of that. But do they discuss actually the social innovations that Tesla has brought to the marketplace? So one of the big innovations of Tesla, which is making it thrive in my view beyond just the car, right, is the idea that they're eliminating dealerships. And they've spearheaded this elimination of dealership, this fight against dealership. I mean, to the point that sometimes they go into Indian reserves and set up delivery centers on like Indian reserves to try to avoid the dealership laws. It's a fascinating story whenever you look at Tesla and how they do their best to avoid all of the dealership rules and dealership laws and change the laws, right? They try to change the laws. But one of the many revolutions that Tesla has triggered is a customer-centric revolution, and that is the end of dealership. When you end dealerships, you create a lot of customer centricity because everyone pays the same. It is not an experience that is dreaded. It is an experience that is loved, and there is no more arbitrary pricing, no more dealer add-ons, like, anti-UV coating, boom, $1,500 just because the dealer decided to add an anti-UV coating on the truck. And you know full well they have 90% margins on the product, right? You don't have any of that when you order online your car, which right now Tesla is the only main manufacturer where you can do this, order it online. And it's to the point that if you go on Twitter, people proudly share their orders. They proudly share, oh look, I just ordered Tesla. You never see someone at a dealership proudly share their order form for a car at a dealership, because buying a car at a dealership is a dreaded experience for most people. There's lots of funny surveys, like how many Americans would prefer do X, Y, Z versus sit in the middle seat of a plane. That's one. Another one is that all of the things that Americans would rather do rather than go to a dealership and buy a car. And it's like overwhelmingly, the amount of stuff that people are willing to do to avoid that is tremendous. And some people will exclusively decide to buy a Tesla because they don't want to go to the dealership. This is entirely forgotten, but this is true. And there's no pressure tactics when you buy online. But the shame is, and this is really the shame of a business that is not customer-centric. Dealerships are not customer-centric. And it is crazy how we all know intuitively the tactics of a car dealer. Let me know if this is familiar. So how do you buy a car the traditional way? You go on a car lot. You show interest in buying a car. Then you have a salesman who's assigned to you as soon as you walk in or as soon as you're spotted. And they creepily, and I sustain my word, they creepily follow you everywhere on the lot. They don't leave you alone. They follow you everywhere on the lot. Right? Then let's say you're interested for a car. The salesman will take you into their office. They'll sit you down and they'll give you an outrageous price for that car. And then this is the negotiating dance that happens, and this always happens. And this dance will say, oh, give me this, give me that, give me a good price, give me a better price, and you go back and forth, and you're expected to waste probably an hour doing that. And at the end of a negotiation, it's always the same. It's always the same at the end of a negotiation. The salesman or woman, you get what I mean, the salesperson, goes talking to the manager. Let me talk to my manager. It always ends like this. And then they talk to the manager. And they say, okay, this is exceptional. This is for you. You're exceptional. We're going to give you this exceptional deal. And you think this is over and you want to buy your car. But no, it's not over. You're not buying a car. Then you're off to a different guy, a financing guy, who has you sit down. And now you're being pressured into using the dealer's lender, which of course does not have the same terms as your bank. But you have to sit through that. And then once you think you're done, then once you think you're done, no, you're not done. You have to go to the warranty guy. And the warranty guy is going to pressure you in dropping $2,000 in a warranty. And then at the end of the process, you're ready to go. You're ready to pay. And you discover that a bunch of new fees, for example, plates and all sorts of different taxes, have been added and never disclosed to you in steps C through F. But it's too late, so you pay the fees. And this is why this is a process that can last as long as 5 hours, that people really dread. And That's why I say no one's missing going to the dealership. No one's missing going to the dealership. And I've just, exposed to you the standard process of buying a car. So Tesla eliminates all of that. You can order a car on your own, cozily on your couch, and you don't have to worry about any of that, right? And you can cancel the order if you want. And you just have to pay a reservation fee. It's so much easier. It is so much easier. It's not even funny. And you have people who will exclusively buy a Tesla because they don't want to go through this process. And this is the big difference between customer-centric Tesla and non-customer-centric buying experience. I believe one of the biggest troubles that legacy automakers have is dealerships. Like Ford has good cars. That F-150. Well, there's a lot of issues, but assuming they come up with a better F-150, right, or an even better Ford Mach-E, these are decent cars that will sell. But people don't want to go through this. So as long as you have to go through a dealership, you're not going to be as compelling. And of course, these legacy autos know it, and they're trying to get rid of a dealership. But you can't. You can't, because the laws and the relationship and the inertia in the business exists. Which is why, I believe the customer-centric way of buying is buying online. And Tesla, this is a big selling point, another big selling point for Tesla. How about charging at home versus fueling at the gas station? Well, let's think about that a second. This is another revolution that nobody thinks about when they think about Tesla. But I talk about this a bit on my channel. It's very, very important. So, who doesn't really matter what you think about gas stations. This is the truth here. Gas stations and convenience stores, which, let's face it, most convenience stores are also gas stations in the US. They are the top 5 places for crime in the USA. And I did a full video just about this topic about 7 or 8 months ago. One of the early videos of the channel. So it's one of the top 5 places for crime in the USA. And actually, ATMs are also a top place for crime, and typically gas stations, convenience stores will also have ATMs. So if you ever wonder why the attendant at the booth, which you often have to see to get your receipt, because most oftentimes the printer for your receipt whenever you go to a traditional gas pump doesn't work. Sometimes we're behind bars or we're behind a bulletproof glass for safety. Well, that's the reason why. That is the reason why. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is gasoline explodes, of course. It's rare, but sometimes you have an old car, a little static, and it can happen. Again, entirely under-discussed topic, but this is a thing. Look it up. All right. Then, the pump is dirty. This may be a detail for many people. But it's not a detail if you care about having a decent car and a nice car, and especially diesel. Have you ever looked at a diesel pump? Diesel pumps are especially dirty. They're always dirty, right? It's oil. Diesel is actual oil material, and so they're extremely dirty. In the USA, and this is first principles thinking again, gas stations are a major spot for alcohol sales. And this is a little different in Europe here. But in the US, it's a major spot to sell alcohol. Who thought this was a good idea is what I ask. And I ask this as a former European. I've been living in the US for 14, 15 years now. But as a former European, I ask this. Who thought it was a good idea to have a giant aisle filled with alcohol right where people go fill up their pump and drive to work or go on with their road trip? Who thought this was a good idea? This is not first principles thinking. This is not first principles thinking. I'm sorry. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And this is another one. This is another big one. Some folks view the gas station as an analog Tinder, i.e., the odds are, especially if you're a woman, but these days it could happen to anybody really, the odds are someone will ask for your number eventually, right? And try to hit on you in the gas station. This is mostly a problem for women, but not only. This is like. So imagine all of this. You had all of these instances, which make it up to just like Americans are not gonna miss going to the dealership, just like they don't want to sit in the middle seat on an airplane. They don't want to go to the gas station, but it's just there's no mass knowledge of this yet. There will be a mass knowledge of this yet, and of course, when you charge at home, you avoid all of these issues, which again, most people don't see as issues today because they have not experienced a way to do it better, a customer-centric way of doing better, which is obviously plugging it in the safety of your garage and having it charged in the morning as you leave for work. And anyways, that's one of the big points. And Tesla's, and I'll conclude with Tesla, customer-centric in Tesla goes on through all waves of the organizations, all over the organizations. For example, the pricing closely tracks the cost of production. Because even if they could charge, say, for example, the debate in the Tesla community is the price drop on the megapacks, and people don't understand why Tesla dropped prices on the megapacks. Well, the reason why Tesla dropped prices on the megapacks, even though demand is through the roof, is because Tesla does not want to become the EpiPen of the megapack where they can charge whatever they can and then not have a repeat business and not have a repeat customers. This is the reason why prices keep dropping for Tesla. Tesla is a company that is aligned with the customer. It is not a company that is rent-seeking. It is a company that is aligned with the customers. That's why they, for example, pack as many features as they can in their base model. There's no expensive options with Tesla. You have a few, but they're typically very idiosyncratic. All of the main features in a Tesla are included, right? So in their cars, we have things like soundproofing, HEPA filters, video games, tablets, a frunk, an actual frunk, which you still don't have in many of the legacy automakers. It accelerates like a sports car. Driver assistant FSD if you want to pay a fee. They have Sentry mode, so security system. Faux lever is the standard in the seat. High crash ratings, and I could go on. There's a lot of these things that they add to the car in the base model. So they don't nickel and dime you. This is a customer-centric story. And they're even customer-centric in the way that they operate with the quote-unquote competition, which is really a topic for another video. But if you see the way a modern-day business like Tesla does, they share patents, they share their supercharger, their charging standards, etc. So this is an example of a company that co-opets, right? It is not closing off doors to doing business with what 20th century businesses would call competition and what a business like Tesla would view as a co-opetitor, or both a partner and a competitor. And this is the moral of the story of the Nash Equilibrium, for example, and the movie A Beautiful Mind. I don't know if you've seen that movie from 2001, but it's the whole idea that cooperating sometimes yields better outcomes for everyone than not cooperating, and for everyone, including the consumer. And this is a part in the DNA of many 21st century companies, and actually all of the companies that I own were founded in the 21st century. I don't think I own a single company from the 20th century out of all of the stocks that I cover on this channel, because these companies understand the DNA of modern business, and they're built for the long run. So that was it. Sorry if it was a lengthy video, but these are three companies, right? SoFi, Tesla, and HIMS, that I consider to be customer-centric and that's ready to win in the marketplace in the 21st century. So this was not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I hope you were entertained. I appreciate your likes, your subscribes. Please follow me on X at BeatTheDenominator. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.